Welcome to the Tea of Life podcast, where our mission is to transform every attitude of life by encouraging and equipping you to live the life you love and love the life you live. I am your host, Tiffany Thompson. Hey, and welcome to this episode of Tea of Life podcast. I am your host, Tiffany Thompson. Thanks for tuning in. I cannot believe it, but this is officially season 5 of the podcast. And I know a few of you have been listening since the beginning, and I'd like to stop and say a great big thank you for all of the continued support and encouragement that I have received through this podcast. A lot of you are also new, and I have noticed a huge spike of downloads in the past few months, and that's really been super exciting. So thank you all so much for joining me in this journey. It's really encouraging and energizing when I see so many downloads and new subscribers. Also, a few of you have reached out to me to tell me that you have recommended my podcast to someone. And in my opinion, that is way better than me actually advertising my podcast on social media. And thank you so much for believing in me and for your continuing to come back and for your loving it enough to recommend it to someone else. In my personal opinion, word of mouth is truly the best advertisement there is. So, speaking of social media and advertisement, yeah. In my last episode, I did make a reference of how I had been taking time to reflect and kind of consider how I want to move forward with this podcast. There are things about doing this podcast that I absolutely love and things that I really don't love so much and things that I don't like at all. And some of the things that I do love about doing this podcast are, of course, the writing and the speaking and the recording and releasing episodes, watching it grow, of course, and of course, talking to my friends and fan base, of course, and just basically all the things that make this podcast an actual podcast. But one of the things that I actually do not like about doing a podcast isn't actually the thing that makes this podcast a podcast at all. It's the social media side of podcasting. And I think we're all getting a little tired of social media these days, and rightfully so, right? So can I get an amen or an a woman? Haha. So anyway, the funny thing is, I mentioned in my last episode that I wanted to take a bit of a break with social media, and I think that the recent events that have taken place since I actually released that episode have definitely confirmed that for me. And we all have known about what's been going on for a long time now, so don't pretend like you haven't. And we've still continued to use it, haven't we? So I've had some of you tell me that you are absolutely done with the social media, especially after watching Social Dilemma on Netflix. And as soon as I watched that show, my question was, did people really not know that this was actually happening? I mean, did it really take this show for people to see what is actually going on? I do know some who immediately deleted their Facebook and Instagram and Twitter accounts after watching Social Dilemma, but they still continued to use Google and Google Maps and Apple Maps and YouTube, and they still continue to order from Amazon and all those things. So with the super current events, I'm guessing that people are now realizing that they are being tracked no matter what they use. We're even being tracked in our cars. If we have OnStar or whatever, we're being tracked, people. And I don't really know if there's a whole lot we can do about it. There's some things we can do. But unless you just completely go off grid and live in the middle of the Caribbean, who doesn't want to do that, right? That sounds pretty amazing. But even still then, I kind of think somebody knows where you are. Right? So ditching Facebook and other social media accounts seem to be kind of a knee-jerk reaction that you really can't undo. So those people have to start over and they can't undo what they did. I'm guessing right now they probably don't have a problem with it, but maybe in the future they might. Who knows? So I have other friends who are quote unquote on a break with Facebook, and also friends who have suspended their Facebook account, either temporarily or permanently, who knows. And all that makes me really sad in a few different ways. I have kind of taken a break, but as if we weren't really already having to socially distance ourselves and stay home more, now you've gone and deleted the only medium that has allowed us to all stick together during this past year. And even if it is or was extremely frustrating, we don't see each other enough to just completely cut out the only lifeline we have left with each other. And okay, so now that I'm on that subject, I have noticed a few unfriending going on as well. And I've lost some friends myself due to unfriending, and that really breaks my heart, especially when I don't feel that I have done anything to deserve being unfriended. I really don't think that I post anything that is offensive or controversial. And I've actually asked other people that, and they have confirmed that they don't think that I do either. And so in a few of the cases, I've been unfriended due to my association with other people who they have a quarrel with, and it has absolutely nothing to do with me whatsoever. Now, that is completely insane and childish. And there have been a few times when I've noticed that I haven't seen posts from somebody in a while. And, you know, it'll be somebody that I had seen lots of posts from in the past and even had, you know, actual conversations with in the past, like adult conversations, not like, you know, controversial conversations, like actual conversations. And I'll go look them up to see if they're okay and how they're doing. And I'll notice that we're no longer friends. Like, what the heck? I don't understand. So I'm like, are we seriously back in middle school or what? I mean, that's how some of these people are acting. And for me, I guess it would probably be high school, because it actually reminds me of something that actually happened to me in high school. And I guess probably brings up some negative feelings because I'm actually getting kind of mad about it right now. And it was like more than 30 years ago, and I obviously have not forgotten about it. But I had a best friend, and we did everything together. For many years, we were literally inseparable. And like we could finish each other's sentences. We knew, like, you know, I mean, we were connected in a lot of different ways. And one morning, I showed up for school as usual, and she wouldn't even acknowledge me. Like, she literally pretended that I wasn't even there. It was like I was a ghost, and she could literally walk right through me. And she suddenly treated me like I was invisible. And it all happened overnight. That was it. The complete and utter end of our friendship. And to this day, we have barely spoken since. You know, we've seen each other on Facebook and kind of liked a post here and there and maybe commented here and there, but that's pretty much it. I mean, if we're even still friends on Facebook, I haven't checked in a while. Maybe I should go look. So I tried and tried to find out what I had done or why she was no longer speaking to me. And to this day, I still have absolutely no idea. She never even gave me an explanation. And I asked her, like I literally, legitimately tried to find out, and she would not even talk to me through that. And honestly, it would have been easier, you know, with the explanation, no matter what the reason was, even if I had done something wrong, it would have been nice to know that so that I could fix it or at least apologize or at least walk away knowing that it was my fault that I screwed up and, you know, never do that again. But I don't even know what to never do again because it was never revealed to me. So that was obviously extremely devastating to me. I still remember it like it was yesterday. I still remember how it felt. how hurt I was, how devastated I was. It was awful. And I vowed to never treat anyone like that ever, even on social media. At that time, obviously, social media didn't exist, but today, this is what we do. We just unfriend anyone and everyone we feel like and ghost them and never have to give an explanation. If we try to contact that person and ask for an explanation, then we get blocked or deemed a bully, and it's all for just asking for a reason. Like, just tell me, just give me a reason. So I still tell the story about it, and I have shared that story with my kiddos in teaching them how to or how not to actually treat people. I teach them that it's okay to set healthy boundaries with themselves and with others, but not to ever just turn their back on someone like that. And unfortunately, the adults on social media are not teaching our children the same lessons. They are teaching them that it's okay to unfriend people, that it's okay to run away and to shun others when they don't agree with you. And I have even seen fellow pastors of churches unfriend people. If there's anyone who should never unfriend anyone, it's a pastor. This pastor did not like what the other people were saying regarding religious views, so he just unfriended them on Facebook. I mean, isn't that kind of the point of being a pastor? To lead people into a growing relationship with Christ? I mean, if that's not what you're doing, then what's the point of what you do? And if you can only be friends with the people who view God the same exact way that you do, then I ask again, what's the point of you? Like, who are you actually leading? If the only people you surround yourself are with people who think just like you. And all it did was create chaos and tension, which is exactly the opposite of what Jesus teaches we should do, especially with each other. Anyway, enough of my rant. Let's get back to the podcast. We may need to visit that social media topic a bit more on a later episode. I have to ponder that a bit. I'm actually kind of like shaking right now because it just kind of upsets me a bit. So that's another reason why I've taken a break from Facebook and social media in general, because my anxiety is just like, just crazy. So anyway, when I started this podcast back in 2017, we also started up a few social media pages and profiles to go along with it, of course, just like everybody does with all their stuff, right? And that's the biggest thing that I don't like about doing a podcast. So I've been kind of questioning myself as to why I actually have to post to these pages at all. I mean, are those social media posts really what leads you to listen to each episode? Or is it just a reminder that you get that you have a new episode waiting for you when you log into your podcasting app? Seriously, though, how do you usually listen to this podcast? Do you listen through an app, or do you listen by clicking through social media and getting to my website? And if you do listen through an app, I'm curious, like, what do you use? I would love to know to make sure that we are on all the things that we can be on for this podcast, on all the outlets. That's what I'm looking for. That's the word I'm looking for. So when I do post to social media, I actually don't have much interaction on my social media pages. I can look at it and see how many and sometimes who have seen my post, and to that point, who and how many never actually reacted to it, even though they saw it. Yeah, I'm looking at you. And those totals are nowhere near the number of people who have liked and followed my page, or even listened to or downloaded episodes. And I have noticed that Facebook tends to stump the posts that have outside links attached to them. So when I post something that and I put my link to my website, I've noticed that those actually aren't seen as much as some of the other posts that I make that are just random words. I've also heard many other people complain about that too, because their site links are being blocked or filtered or whatever it is that they say they're doing these days, and people aren't really seeing them. So my actual website shows me how many people visit my site and where they have come from. Most of the clicks that I get on my website are not from social media sites. And most of the conversations that I have regarding my podcast are also not on social media sites. So, like I was saying before, many of you are not even on social media these days. Okay? So I would love to just write and publish podcasts without the pressures of posting to social media as well and constantly having to check it and log in and all these things. And I've not really been posting to Facebook much lately. I've kind of been watching my stats and I'm still growing like crazy. I mean, like in spite of, my podcast is like, y'all, I'm telling you, I've had a lot of downloads lately and it's pretty awesome. So in spite of me posting on social media and in spite of my not having released an episode in a little bit of a while, I am getting hits, and it's not coming from Facebook or Instagram. So other than my battle with social media, I love podcasting, and I have so much that I want to share with you on this podcast. And when I say so much, I mean I have a list of topics that would cover an entire year or more, seriously, like with me releasing every week. And that is hard to do, releasing every week when you're especially in a solo podcast and homeschooling kids and, keeping up with home and all the things that I do. So, admittedly though, it can be a little bit lonely doing this all by myself all the days. It's hard to chat alone like this and, trying to keep you guys engaged at the same time. It's way more fun when I have someone to converse with on the show. And, I'm working on getting my husband on the show more. So hopefully I can start doing that more as well. I'm going to start scheduling him and maybe have a chat or two with him on the show, which would be great. And when I have too much time alone to think about this, I kind of start to wonder, who am I to tell you all the things? I mean, what makes me qualified to share any of these things with you? I want to help encourage you, and sometimes I feel like that's all I have, and maybe it's enough. I don't know, maybe not. So please bear with me as I work through all my insecurities right here in front of you with, social media and who am I and all that stuff. I feel like we have a lot of experience in a lot of different areas and a lot of successes that we can share with everyone. And that is my heart. And that is what I want to share with you, is where we have fought and we have won. And I want you to win. That is my desire for you. And so that's what I feel like we have to share. And there's a lot here that we haven't shared, even though we're in season 5 now. There's a lot that we haven't shared, and I just need to get on it. So I appreciate each and every one of you who have continually encouraged me to keep on keeping on with this podcast. Thank you so much for helping me fight through the lows and for celebrating with me during the highs. And thank you for sharing this podcast with others. Please continue to do that. It is because of you that I am growing, and I am thankful for each and every one of you. It's because you're sharing the podcast that I am growing, and thank you so much. So basically, from here going forward, I'm not going to post to Instagram probably at all, and I don't know if I can maybe suspend my account on Instagram for a while. I have to check that out, but I'm not really sure. I will post to my podcast page and my community group page until I figure out which one of those I really need to keep. Neither one of those is private, so anyone and everyone can find both. It seems that the podcast page is the one that people are finding and liking the most. So I may, that may make my decision right there. I'm not really sure. But if you have any suggestions or ideas or preferences on that or experience, please share it with me, because I'm looking for reasons to favor either one of those. If I have to continue both, I will. Those would just be my two. But if I could even narrow it down to just one of those, that would be pretty amazing as well. We can have conversations on the podcast page as well. I mean, just like the conversations we actually don't have on the community group page. But I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't know what to do. So if I need to keep both or either. So if you have a suggestion or if you have any experience, let me know. So I believe that my Facebook community group is also open to anyone posting on it. I think I can make my page to where people can do that as well. So anyway, feel free to do that. And if you have any comments or questions regarding this podcast at all, please feel free to post and share to either the page or the group, and I'll see which one gets the most hits. You can even start a discussion there if that's what you'd like to do, because I probably won't for at least a while anyway. So that's the end of this podcast. Thank you so much for listening today. I love you guys. Thank you so much for recommending me and allowing this podcast to grow. I'm just so excited, y'all. Like when I logged in the other day, I just saw like major numbers and I am excited. So we're going to continue. I have lots more to come. I'm going to be talking about possibly homeschooling coming up soon, and maybe breaking out some of those little ideas for you guys. So stay tuned. And if you have anything special that you would like for me to talk about, or you have any questions that you would like answered, I love doing research. So feel free to shoot me some questions and maybe we'll get it on the podcast. All right. I love you guys and have a great day. Thank you for listening to TF Life Podcast. If you have two friends who need to transform every attitude of life, tell them about us. Also, right now, before you forget, go to Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or anywhere you listen to a podcast and hit that subscribe or follow button. That way you will never miss an episode. Thanks for listening to TF Life Podcast, and we'll see you next time.